In Exodus 34, verse 14, it says, "Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God." Now, I've done Bible studies on different names of God, and I love some of the names of God, but jealous is not a name that I would want to think of with my Father. But He is a jealous God, and I've experienced His jealousy. You know, I've always prided myself on being a good wife. That became a problem. I held Dan up on a pedestal that was not correct. And everything I wanted to do, of course I wanted to please God, but I wanted to please Dan, and my motives were to please Dan, and so much of my world was wrapped up in what would Dan like, and how could I help him get there. And God revealed Himself to me as this jealous God from Exodus 34. I looked up jealous in Webster's dictionary. It's no surprise. It says that jealousy is being intolerant of rivalry or unfaithfulness. I had to repent of my being unfaithful to God and having Dan on this pedestal where he did not belong. And it caused me great grief. I remember crying for 2 or 3 days thinking, oh no, if I submit even this to God, what's it going to do to my marriage? I didn't want to do anything that might harm our relationship. But God is so much better than that, so much more benevolent than that. He would only give me what is better. And so when I made that commitment to keep Him as Lord and Dan in his rightful place, our marriage took on even a better place. It was beautiful and full and rich, and I was blessed beyond measure. Recently, we were in China and had the privilege of speaking to a chairman of the Communist Party, and he was asking Dan and I both, well, tell us about Christianity in America, asking us questions about, what is a pastor and how much time does Christianity take? Just very curious questions. One of the questions he asked was, well, what's your top priority? And Dan said, well, God is my first priority. And then Linda. And they looked at him with surprise on their faces, because in China, the government is number one. It's a communist country. And their wife would certainly be way down on their list of priorities. So they were surprised. And they looked at me and said, Linda, what is your priority? And with great joy, I could tell them that God was my number one priority and that Dan was number two. They were quite surprised when I said that, because they were expecting me to want to just honor and revere Dan. They turned to Dan and said, Dan, how does that make you feel? And he said, I like it. I want my wife to honor God first. This was a totally new concept for them. But God's ways are correct and they're right. They are for our good. And when you keep Him in the rightful place of being number one and your spouse is number two, you can have the supernatural marriage that He intends for you to have. So I encourage you to seek first God and His righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you.